The details of this house are very much what Soriano learned from Neutra. But he had his own little style. Some of them were simpler because he was establishing his firm, so he had fewer budgets. And I think there's something wonderful about trying to make the most out of a very tight budget. The materiality is so simple. It's stucco, wood posts painted with aluminum paint to look like metal, and glass. That's what he worked with on this house, and he created a lot with those little minimal materials. My name is Alan Pullman, and today we are in Long Beach, California, specifically Alamitos Heights at the Kimpson-Nixon House by Raphael Soriano. The Kimpson-Nixon House was built in around 1940, and the architect Raphael Soriano was from Los Angeles. He had recently started his own practice about 5 years before this house was built. For that, he worked for Richard Neutra. He come from Rhodes, Greece, and studied at USC when he was about 20. The house was part of a busy period in his life where he found a real market for modern architectural homes in Los Angeles that really embodied indoor-outdoor lifestyle and were at the time fairly inexpensive to build. Raphael Soriano had a long career and worked in a lot of different styles, including mid-century modern, case study, and Eichler houses. But his early work was based on the work he had done with Richard Neutra. Richard Neutra came from Europe and brought early modern architecture to Los Angeles, including what was known as the international style. And the characteristics of the international style are really evident in this house. Very simple, planar volumes, strip windows, ribbon windows of glass, roof decks, flat roofs that are used as habitable space, and a kind of asymmetrical composition. This house really embodies that, and I think it's one of Soriano's simpler but more beautiful expressions of that particular style. It's very pure in its lines. It really, I think, embodies some of the really great elements of international style and its simplicity and its connection to being the outdoors, which we've always appreciated about this particular house. Raphael Soriano built 50 buildings in his career. Only 12 of them are remaining standing. They're all houses. There are no other Soriano homes in Long Beach. This is the only one. The others are in different parts of Los Angeles and Northern California. Well, it started with a very practical thing. I had a growing family and we lived in a great little bungalow, but it only had one bathroom. So first and foremost, we wanted to maybe expand that house or find another house with 2 bathrooms. We started looking, and this house came on the market. I had known of this house for quite a while and was interested in it. It was not in good shape, but I saw this beautiful, simple elegance to the design. I knew it was an international style house, and there were very, very few. I think it's the only one in Long Beach, early modern homes. So it had been interesting to me, and when it came on the market and we were able to walk through it, immediately, actually, Stephanie walked through it before even I did. She sent me pictures. I knew that it was not in good shape, but that the bones of the original house were there, and it would be a worthwhile project to take on if we could figure out how to do it.
I'm Stephanie Pullman, and Alan and I have lived in this home with our twin daughters for almost 13 years now. What we know about the house and how it was built and how it came to be is that I'm sure you've noticed there's 2 names, the Kimpson-Nixon House. That is because there was a woman named Gladys Nixon who was very interested, apparently, in modern architecture. And there was a couple, the Kimpsons. They were friends with Gladys somehow, and they told her that they wanted to build a house here. So Gladys somehow knew about Soriano and got him and the Kimpsons together. And there are photographs of Raphael Soriano, the Kimpsons, and Gladys Nixon with her baby, who grew up to be the person that sold us the house. Apparently the Kimpsons barely lived here. moved out, and Gladys wound up with the house. She lived here for what we understand 70 years. The day that I stepped inside this house was the day that I found out it was on the market. And I saw it on my computer or my phone, and I couldn't believe it because it was a house that my husband, Alan, always said he wanted to live in. And I personally never understood this house. I knew it was significant, but it just always seemed kind of weird to me. I always imagined it as a skinny little hallway. I couldn't imagine this room at all from the outside. I drove directly from work, and I kind of cased the house, and I saw the real estate agent. As he was walking out, I came up and I asked him if I could see the house, and he said yes. I walked into the house and I saw what was so amazing about this space, and I just went, oh, I see now. Because there's ribbon windows on this side of the house, but I didn't know they were also on this side of the house. Of course, it was a lot wider than I imagined. And there was just something about the feeling of being in this room where you just still feel like you're outside, but you also feel comfortable and sort of safe. That's the only ways that I can describe it. I said right there and then, what's it going to take for us to buy this house? It was a long process, but obviously we're here. Going back to my childhood, my grandparents were really into Scandinavian design. My grandfather was a trained architect. They had Eames chairs in their home. They had Calder mobiles and prints. And when I was really little, I thought it was kind of weird because didn't see that furniture anywhere else. But there was this part of me too that knew that there was something to it. I just wasn't sure what. So I inherited furniture from them. One being this chair that I'm sitting in. This was my grandmother's chair at one side of the table, and we have another Eames chair in orange at the other end of the table. That was my grandfather's chair, and now we have that at our table. When Alan met with the daughter of Gladys, he asked her about the furniture because some of the family members wanted the furniture, and she insisted that Alan would keep it. And so the two chairs here, the Jakobsen egg chairs, came with the house. And they're just so incredible. They're in perfect condition. My husband always tells me that, this is not a mid-century home, it's an international style home. And they were really interested in, industry and in ships and trains. And when I go into the kitchen, or when I first went into the kitchen, I was like, oh, this feels like I'm in a ship. Like I'm driving my boat. So I can definitely feel that and see that, like you're on a train with all the windows. That also helps you to understand the house a little bit more, like the context of what they were looking at and what that design is compared to a more mid-century modern type of home.
This house is a historical monument, and it was listed locally as a landmark before we purchased it, which I thought was fantastic because it meant that it had to be maintained and preserved. Somebody couldn't take it and remodel it. No one had done that, and I was glad that the city had landmarked it so that it could be preserved in its mostly intact state. When we bought the house, it was not in very good shape. It hadn't been maintained. It had a lot of water damage. The plumbing didn't work. The electrical service was the original service from 1930. It was totally inadequate for a modern house. We knew that it was going to be a restoration project and renovation project. What I love about this house is the plywood paneling in the living room. This is the original, you see here, the original plywood, but it was in really bad shape. It had been a lot of water damage, so the plywood was delaminating. So what we did was, I found an amazing craftsman who works in wood and a painter as well, from Los Angeles, named Andrew Gray. And he came in and painstakingly restored all the paneling. I love this house, but it does help that I am an architect and I knew the history of the house a little bit. I am a partner at Studio 111, which is an architecture firm here in Long Beach, located downtown. We do a lot of urban design, urban architectural interventions. We also do landscape architecture. And this house actually influenced how I design buildings though, because living here has really made me appreciate the importance of the view, the importance of how to place windows. All the rooms have these ribbon windows, but in the living room, they start lower, so you really get an expansive feeling. In the bedrooms, they start higher, so you still have that view, but privacy. Small little moves like that Soriano incorporated really make livability such a great part of living here and learning from living in this particular house.
The fun of this house is you experience every part of the day and you feel the day moving with the sun. So in the morning, it's dark over here and it's lighter over there. So I sit here with my coffee and that's my place. I actually do my meditation and I open up the window a little bit. And then throughout the day, I have this whole system with the curtains. So when it gets too sunny on one side, I close them, but I only close them a little bit because I want to have, you can like really control how you feel in here. The light is incredible and it's just all day long, it's changing. The thought and attention and the context is so different. And there's just very few rooms any of us are ever in that are like this and that you get to actually live in. That's a big reason why it's so important, is because we don't want to forget what these spaces feel like. The story of Soriano and Neutra and Schindler, and this house keeps those stories alive to understand that there's so much more to a building or a house. And also sometimes from the outside, you don't know what it's gonna feel like on the inside. And that's something to always be reminded of with architecture and architects, to be careful to not think more about what the outside of the building looks like and what it's going to feel like on the inside of the building. Just that thread is so important, and once this house is gone, or if it wasn't here, we wouldn't be telling these stories. And now it's like generations of people that have a story to tell.
Well, when I was doing the restoration of the house, it's also our family's house and we had to live in it. So we found, I think, the balance between making it modern and a modern house, also though preserving what was really special about the design. It's a testament to the sort of timelessness of architecture that a house that is coming up to almost 100 years old can still feel so modern and be so livable. And so I think that's really a testament to what Soriano was able to do here. As an architect, I felt an immense amount of responsibility for the house and to restore the house. And for the first years we lived here, I didn't have enough money to do that. So I knew what I wanted to do, but it felt a bit out of reach. So there was, for me, some frustration. But Stephanie and the kids always loved living here. They love the neighborhood, but they also love the house. It's not a big house, it's actually a modest house, but because of the way it's laid out, all the rooms interact, but you have privacy, but you could be together. I think it's very livable, and it was a great place to raise our kids.